Hi people, my name is Nomatamsangamdlazi and I create content on life, mental wellness and personal development. I truly and deeply thank you for joining me in this wonderful conversation today. And in this video, I want to show you how to get to a point where you can transform failure into power, right? It is very important for all of us to understand that failure itself isn't fatal, right? It is very important for us to understand that failure itself is part of the process, right? We don't have a choice but to understand how important it is for us to fail so that we could just actually pick up with boldness in whatever it is that we're trying to do. It is very important for us to understand that failure has to be part of the process. It has to be part of many of these pursuits, because we're trying, we're learning, and therefore we can't resist. It is very important for all of us to understand that failure itself is part of the process, right? And in fact, people who thrive well in many of these different industries and business and wherever, it's people who have accepted the fact that failure itself is just part of the process, right? They have to fail so that they could see what actually works out at the end of the day. So in this video, please do just stick around until the end, because at the end of the day, all of us have to understand how to maneuver ourselves around failure itself. So without any waste of time, please do make sure that you subscribe to our channel. So if you have already subscribed to this channel, I truly and deeply thank you. So before we start on this conversation, please allow me to share with you a quote by Robert Greene on failure itself. He says that failure permits you to see the flaws of your ideas, which are only revealed in the execution of them, right? You can never really see that your ideas are flawed, your ideas are not that perfect, unless if you try to get into the execution of those ideas, right? So it means that failure itself is very important. It is very intrinsic. It is very crucial for our growth, for our personal development in many different ways, right? Because now when you get deeper in the execution of whatever it is that you've planned for yourself, it means that is how at the end of the day, you will see that, hey, your ideas are flawed. Your ideas are not perfect, right? Your ideas are not good enough in reality, right? So this is such a beautiful way of understanding, and just a beautiful perspective of really understanding that failure itself, it just permits you, it is a permit to actually see that your ideas are not that perfect, right? Your ideas are flawed, right? When you actually have to implement them in reality. So in order for you to be able to transform failure into power, you need not to be too harsh on yourself, right? You need to understand that you're human at the end of the day, and there's a lot of things that you have to accept before you step into that power, right? So the first point I want you to consider in transforming your failure into power is that, number one, appreciate the feeling, right? Or the emotion. It is very important for you to appreciate and accept the fact that this is where you are. You've failed in whatever it is that you tried to do. Society told you to get a matric certificate, to do this, to do that, and yet you've failed. This is where you are. That's your reality, right? You appreciate that moment. You understand that you are allowed to cry. You are allowed to be moody, because you're deeply unhappy because of that situation. You spend a few weeks struggling emotionally, mentally, because you understand that this is my season of struggle, right? The most important thing is for you to allow yourself to experience and feel these emotions. And actually, if you have to talk to someone, you actually do that. But at the end of the day, you accept these feelings, you actually embrace these emotions, you appreciate these emotions, and you understand that you are human and you had so much hope, you had set so much expectations for yourself and you could not meet them, and this is where you are, that this is your reality. So how do you move? How do you then step into your other self? after this after revelation that you actually have failed. Most importantly is to appreciate the feeling, accept your emotions. That is the very first step, because now you will get to heal in that process of understanding that in the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'm not well emotionally. I'm struggling. I'm deeply struggling. I can't cope. You sleep throughout the day, whatever it is that it should take you for you to actually get to a point where you make sure that you actually accept and you appreciate your emotions. Do whatever it is that actually does make sense for you. If you have to cry, you do that. But most importantly, understand that you actually experience yourself. You experience this pain that you've struggled because of failure. Number 2, I need you to learn from failure and be constructive, right? If you realize that these were the results and you did not do well, it is important for you to understand that you should learn from this process, right? You should not always stick into that struggle for the rest of your life and thinking that the world is over. No. Most importantly is for you to learn from that experience, right? Try to figure out important ideas, important mistakes that you may have committed in your grade 12 or in your whatever, and just get to a point where you understand which are the important things that you should have learned in that experience. It is very important for you to learn from failure, for you to be able to progress as a person. It is important for you to learn from whatever experience that you actually go through in your failure, right? So previously, I said you should be able to appreciate your emotions, and now I say that you should actually learn from that experience. You should not stick to that experience for the rest of your life, but actually learn from failure. What is it? How did I conduct myself in my grade 12 such that now I am in this position where I've failed? Maybe you did not study. Maybe you were not really fully committed with your studies. Maybe you were not just busy with friends hovering around. So what else can you do going forward to actually make sure that you don't get to become a victim of failure again? You actually, most importantly, is the intention to learn from your failure, right? For the fact that you're learning from your failures, it means that you will actually make progress as a person. You will make progress, trust me, going forward. And failing your grade 12 is just a basic, right? It's just nothing much. It is something that you can always actually improve going forward. And in any kind of failure as well, all of us will actually get to a point where we get another opportunity to actually fix whatever it is that we've failed within. And most importantly is the intention, the willingness, and just how you allocate your attention in whatever struggle you've had, so that you could actually amend it and actually fix whatever mistakes that you've made, which then resulted to your failing, right? Most importantly is your effort in your pursuit in whatever it is that you're trying to do. If you are putting in effort to actually make sure that you fix those mistakes, which actually leads to failure, then you're on the right track. Number 3, surround yourself with positive people. I know it is difficult. This is very difficult for some of us because I know some of us grow without parents, and there's a lot of these things, right? But it's very important for you to be truly intentional about the kind of people you spend most of your time with, right? At this point in your life, be very intentional, be highly selective of who you spend most of your time with, be very vigilant, right? Make sure that you actually surround yourself with truly positive energies, right? People who will not drag you down, right? But people who will actually help you to build yourself up, to pick yourself up from those situations, and not really be mocking you in many different ways, right? But it is very important for you to surround yourself with positive people. So number 4, do not take it too personally, right? The reality is that whatever it is that may have happened to you, whether you thought it's misfortune or it's just real failure because you're not committed to the process, the reality is that whatever it is that may have happened, It is something that may have happened before. In fact, it is something that has happened to someone else before. In the present, someone else is experiencing the same thing. Even in the future, someone else will experience the very same thing, right? So whatever it is that you're going through as a person in terms of failure, I need you to understand that do not take it personally. It is not really about you, right? Just don't stigmatize it onto you as a person, right? Because at the end of the day, failure in the world isn't necessarily for you as a person. Just stop taking things personally, because you will struggle in many different ways simply because you actually fail to recognize the fact that you should not take things too personally, right? You will struggle in many different ways because you always think that everything is about yourself. Misfortunes are all about you. No, take things very lightly and just be clearer in your articulation of the situation, right? It is very important for you to understand that you should be very vigilant of how you perceive things. Just stop taking things personally. You're not the very first person who has failed a matric, right? You don't have to feel so bad about yourself. You don't have to. Most importantly is that whether you are learning from that experience and how is it that you want to conduct yourself going forward to avoid that experience, right? So number 5 is to accept responsibility, right? Most importantly is your willingness, your intention, your commitment to accept responsibility, right? Jordan Peterson talks about this, that the purpose of life is to carry out the highest level of responsibility that you're capable of handling as a person, right? It is very important for you to recognize that at this point in your life that you have failed and you've gone through all the other stages I've spoken about, that you get to a point where you understand that now you have a responsibility to put in the work. You have the responsibility to get things done, right? It is very important for you to focus on that process and actually get to commit to that process of taking that burden with all your energies, with all your strength, with all your might, to actually get to a point where you can actually manifest things to work out your way, right? It is very important for you as a person to actually be truly intentional about commitment to the process and taking the responsibility with all your energy and with all your strength, with all your might. Just really commitment to the process will always reap wonderful results for you. Most importantly is the intention and the willingness to actually adopt that responsibility. And it is funny enough that in life, if you don't have any level of responsibility, you will always struggle mentally, emotionally, and in many different ways, right? So the best favor you can do for yourself after that failure, after that terrible experience of failure, it is important for you to understand that you should get to a point where you accept responsibility and you actually want to get things done. You want to work out on something in life so that at the end of the day you can experience a deep sense of appreciation, just experience this dopamine release that actually comes from really getting things done and actually getting successful in those things. Right. Number 6, direct your focus on other positive areas of your life or consume new content, right? This is what I do every time I went on to an audition and I realized that I didn't do really well or I wasn't just given enough chance, right? I always come back home and actually consume more content. I consume a different content, just something that I like, just anything, either it's music or it's just listening to a wonderful podcast, right? So the best thing to do in that season of you struggling mentally, emotionally, where you don't really even feel yourself as a person, the best thing is to consume new content or try to direct your attention in other different areas of your life, right? You have people who love you. You have people who take good care of you. You have people who actually care about you, about your wellness, about who you are as a person. So start thinking about those people, or spend time with those people, right? That is how you will actually make yourself feel better. Or just listen to music, just as I do, or listen to a wonderful conversation on wherever, right? That is how you will then pick yourself up, right? Because the mind itself, your subconscious mind, is just the storage of information, right? So is the storage of information. If you only flood your mind with your trauma, which you've experienced with it, which is failure, you will deeply struggle mentally, emotionally, and in many different ways. But if you try to consume new content or direct your focus in another beautiful area of your life, then it means that you will stabilize your emotions, right? You will now feel better within the mind, because your mind is not all consumed with you failing grade 12 or you to have failed in whatever, because you are able to stabilize and understand the fact that you do have people who take care of you. It is not the end of the world. You actually consume new content. You listen to music that you like. You watch a wonderful podcast to stabilize the information that is on your brain, which then helps you eliminate chances of you getting deeply frustrated and be struggling mentally, emotionally, and in many different ways. Most importantly is that you try to consume new content so that you can stabilize your emotions at the end of the day. So number 7 is failure isn't fatal. Right? So failure itself does not mean that it is the end of the world. Many people have spoken about this, but it's funny how so many of us are still struggling in failure itself. We're still struggling in handling failure because we think failure is just where you deserve. Just that alone just feeds to what you're already struggling with as a person. It is just not the reality. Right? The reality is that failure itself isn't fatal, right? So I have a quote here by Socrates, right? So Socrates says, falling down is not failure. Failure comes when you stay where you have fallen. That's Socrates on that quote, right? Most importantly is for you to understand that failure isn't fatal, right? It is only you who can make it fatal by you staying in that position for the rest of your life and saying like, no, I failed my grade 12. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. So therefore you choose to stay where you think you belong, right? Most importantly is for you to realize that you're not your failures, right? Failure itself isn't forever. It is very important for you to appreciate, to accept and embrace that reality, right? That all things can only change, but unless if you actually stand up and actually commit to the process of getting things done, it is very important for you as a person to commit to that process, to be truly intentional about that process, and actually get to understand that it is you who have the responsibility to actually change your life, to actually transform your life into another different version of who you are. It is very important for you to appreciate that, to understand the fact that you should not stay where you have fallen. Most importantly is for you to actually pick yourself up. No one else will do it for you. It's very unfortunate. It is only you who can pick yourself from that position and actually stand up and get things done so that you can get to experience success at the end of the day. Number 8, I need you to be compassionate of yourself, right? There is nothing that is more important as having compassion for yourself in this season. It is very important for you to be kind to yourself, right? Even if you know that maybe you were just hovering around, you were just playing, where you did not really commit to the process of your grade 12 or doing whatever. But most importantly is for you to forgive yourself. Be compassionate of yourself. Understand that you're human and you're allowed to actually make mistakes. It is very important for you to understand how important it is for you as a person to be highly compassionate of yourself, right? Don't expect other people to have empathy towards you. because other people just don't care. They just don't care, right? And if you fail to give yourself compassion, then it means that you will keep struggling in many different ways. Do yourself a favor. Be compassionate of yourself. Understand that you've come so far for you to be so hard, to be so harsh on yourself. Be kind to yourself. Forgive yourself, right? If you understand that you tried your level best, you put on effort, it is important that even in that season after failure, you understand the fact that you should be compassionate of yourself. In fact, you should be proud of yourself that you did work hard, even if things didn't really go your way. But you should be proud of the fact that you actually tried your level best, and therefore at this point in your life, when the results are out and you failed, it is important for you to be very and highly compassionate of yourself. And the reality is that other people might not have so much empathy for you in that season of failure. So in that season of failure, it is only you by yourself, right? You should be able as a person to actually stand for yourself in that season of failure, because if you don't stand for yourself, who else will? Other people out here, yes, they will keep mocking at you, they'll do all these sort of things, except for the people who deeply care about you. Those ones might actually try to actually feel for you, right? But on an average time, many of us are struggling because we don't really get people who are truly compassionate, who have empathy for us, and therefore it is very important for you as a person to be truly compassionate of yourself. Understand that this is a season where you should be really kind to yourself. So number 9 is to reflect on the experience and adopt a growth mindset. A growth mindset is a game changer, right? It is a life-changing opportunity, right? If you are truly intentional about your life, it is very important for you to adopt a growth mindset, right? Because that kind of mindset allows you to see things from a different perspective, right? Instead of seeing failure, you actually see an opportunity to learn, right? To actually learn from the experience, and you realize that no, this is what I shouldn't have done this. This is how I should have done it. Maybe it would have worked better, right? That is how you get to transform your life, to get to a point where you can transform failure itself into power, right? It is very important for you to understand that you should reflect on the experience and adopt a growth mindset. A growth mindset will completely change and transform your life in many different ways. It is very important for you to be truly intentional about learning from the experience more than anything. The intention to reflect and learning from the experience and actually adopt a growth mindset to see through what else I would have done differently, and now how can I do it differently going forward. So point number 10, it says that if it's your passion, then try again. Right? It is very important for you as a person to understand that if this is something that you deeply love, that you're truly passionate about, then you don't have a reason to give up on it, right? You don't have a reason to actually just truly give up on whatever it is that you believe that it is your passion, right? Most importantly is for you to try again, focus on the process. The easy part about doing the things that you love is that you're truly passionate about them, even if you actually fail or the results don't actually get to manifest the way you want. But because you actually love whatever it is that you do, it means that it is highly possible for you to actually stick to the process, to actually get things done. It is very important for you to understand that you should be truly intentional about your passions as a person. And if it's a grade 12, you have to have a matric certificate. All of us, we just really literally hated being in high school, right? But we actually tried. We literally tried to actually make sure that at the end of the day, you actually get your matric certificate, because society tells you that you should have a matric certificate or else you're not valid and won't even count count you as part of us, right? So it is very important for you to be truly intentional about the things that you love, and you actually focus on that process. And even in the things that you're supposed to do, to have, just as a matric certificate, just as I say, that it's not, some of us really did not really like to be in high school. We felt like just skipping and going somewhere else. But at the end of the day, it is important for us to actually focus on whatever it is that society demands of us in other things to another level. But it is very important for all of us to actually commit to the process of learning and just doing things differently. So we've come to the end of this conversation. I want to share with you a quote by Nelson Mandela on failure itself, right? So he says, "Do not judge me by my successes. Judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up," right? So it's funny how society, we keep praising success and everything. But Nelson Mandela, in this quote, he says that actually we should be celebrating the process, right? The process of getting up and actually getting up after you've fallen, right? So we should be celebrating that process instead of celebrating the success itself, right? So you should not be asking someone how much of a success, how much of achievements they actually have, but most importantly, how many times they have fallen down and actually picked themselves up, right? Because that is how as well, now you will learn to realize that, hey, it is not just success at the end of the day, but it is actually a process, because before you actually get to climb to that point, right? So I truly and deeply thank you for joining me in this wonderful conversation. I hope you've learned just as much as I did about just failure itself, right? To understand that it has to be part of the process. It has to be part of where we want to go, right? It can never be just success, success. No, it has to be a process. Failure has to be part of the process of getting there at the end of the day. So this is my favorite quote as well. He says that, this is Seneca, he says that failure changes for the better, success for the worse, right? So just having too much of a success, this dopamine release, just the experience of getting successful every now and then does not end up well, right? That is why we always see in the media how people actually get successful, the things actually go well for them, and then at some point they struggle in another different area of their lives, and they actually get to a point where they've literally lost themselves. They've struggled in many different ways, or they actually go back to where they come from, right? To in whatever struggle that they've had before. But failure itself, it is the only opportunity for you to actually succeed, right? So after success, there's actually nothing good beyond it. But after failure, there are opportunities for you to do better, to improve, to have progress, right? So failure is a wonderful opportunity for you to work out on your life and to realize that you actually have a reason to wake up, because you have a burden, you have a weight to carry, you have a responsibility to actually get things done, right? And in fact, if you get successful in everything you do, what's the use of getting things done? You don't. The most importantly is that all of us are literally running away from trying to from failure itself. That is why we actually wake up to actually get things done. We work, we put in effort to actually make sure that we manifest things, and we get to a point where we actually get to experience how it is to get to a point where we are truly successful in many different arenas of our lives. It is very important for all of us to understand that failure itself has to be part and a parcel of life itself. And please, if you failed in anything, in your marriage, at school, wherever, please just take that as a wonderful opportunity to actually work out on your life. Be truly intentional about learning and just see through how to do things better going forward. It is very important for you to be truly intentional about that, because that is the only way that you will be able to improve, do better in many other different areas of your life. But without any waste of time, I truly and deeply thank you for joining me in this wonderful conversation. Please do make sure that you subscribe to our channel. And if you have subscribed to our channel, I truly and deeply thank you for becoming a part of this growing community. Without any waste of time, thank you so much. Bye.
You be the birthday girl. You be the birthday girl. You be the birthday girl. My prayer for you today, although it's for many good days. Enjoy your birthday, my baby. My prayer for you today, although it's for many good days. Enjoy your birthday, my baby. What can I say? What can I do to